Brodes hanging out with you on a Sunday afternoon. It's a weird weather day, but it's a relaxing Sunday to kind of get yourself ready for this upcoming week. And where I want to start today's show, and of course the phone number is 215-592-9494. Yesterday, I took a phone call from Rob in Delco, who I love, by the way. Absolutely love Rob. And he was talking about finally winning a championship again. And I remember back in 2017 that a very similar conversation popped up. And the way it was phrased yesterday was similar to, having a cushion. Now that the Eagles won a championship, there's a bit of a cushion, right? We don't have to be so tight. We don't have to be so intense about getting a trophy and having a parade because, listen, we got another one. So the question is, does this Super Bowl make you less willing to demand a World Series? Less willing to demand an NBA title? A Stanley Cup? Does it satisfy you enough now, knowing that the Eagles are in a good place? It doesn't seem like they're going to fall off. And 2 days ago was arguably one of the best days of our entire lives. Are you able to breathe and just take a deep breath and realize we got another Super Bowl? I'm okay for the time being. Now, personally, I have a hard time accepting that. Now, everybody feels their own way about it, and I would love to hear your opinions at 215-592-9494, but truly, it makes me crazier after there's a title. I want more. I'm not satisfied, and I kind of put myself in the same shoes, can't believe I'm about to say this, of like Tiger Woods in his prime. Now, I'm not Tiger Woods in my prime, but if Tiger Woods is in his prime and he wins a green jacket, you think he's good with that? Or do you think he wants to win the next tournament, right? He wants to have another piece of hardware that goes up on his shelf. Same applies with Kobe. Kobe wins a title. You think he's good with that? Or do you think he's ready to pounce and win another one with the Lakers and go back-to-back? This is just the way my mindset works. So right now, I want you to take a listen. Unfortunately, and I apologize, and I don't want to do this to you all, but just to put it in perspective of where the mindset is for the Phillies and the Sixers right now and how it is completely different from Howie Roseman's attack, which is unsettling. But listen to Daryl Morey. This is from a couple of days ago about the current state of this team. Take a listen.
And we're just focused on championship. And I know you have to squint a little, but we feel like this group can still do that.
Excuse me? I can't accept it. I can't accept it. I'm sorry. I don't care if there's a Super Bowl championship that happened 1 week ago today. Our general manager, president of basketball ops with the Sixers, is sitting here telling us if you squint, this team could be in a title contention. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? No amount of Super Bowls would ever allow for me to accept that BS. Now, here's Dave Dombrowski talking about Taijuan Walker in spring training.
I hope that he pitches like the Taijuan Walker that we've seen in the past, and then we'll have a great problems and great conversations, and we'll see what ends up happening.
He stinks! Stinks! Taijuan Walker stinks! And Dave Dombrowski is up here trying to tell us that, well, it looks good in spring training, and let's hope that it could turn out to be positive, because that's a good problem for us to have. No amount of championships would ever allow for me to accept that from either of these organizations. This is now the standard, okay? Parades down Broad Street, being equipped like Howie Roseman is. Anything less than 2 million people on Broad Street and all throughout the city of Philadelphia, it can't be tolerated. So I understand that the Eagles are our number one and it's our baby. And some may not have the same fight and passion for the Sixers. Some may not have the same fight for the Phillies, even though I know there are a lot of you that are 4 for 4 or 3 for 4 and all that stuff. So I get it. But there's no way we can accept any of this from the rest of the teams. And I'm curious if you are now satisfied enough to take a bit of a deep breath with the pursuit of another championship outside of the Eagles going back-to-back. Because I know that rush for another Super Bowl is always going to be there. But I'm more gearing this towards other teams in the city. Does this shift your philosophy? Does this shift your hunger at any point? Because it actually makes my toes curl thinking that it's time to relax. Because if anything, it's the complete opposite. I am now ready to pounce even harder than I did before. Now I want it again. I'm pissed that it's not Friday. I'm pissed that I have to wait for another one of those days. I want another one of those days next October coming up, next November for a Phillies team. I need it tomorrow if I can get it tomorrow. So I can't put my feet up, kick it, and relax. 215-592-9494. That's where we begin today's show. Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Joe in Merchantville. What's going on, Joe?
Hello, Brodes.
What's up, Joe?
This is the first time we talked. I listened to you a lot, but first time I've called you.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Sure thing. And I'm in complete agreement with you. Keep the momentum going. And I was saying to your producer when I called in, I was like, 2025 is my year. I'm an Ohio State graduate. They won the national title. Eagles win the Super Bowl. I got a new grandchild coming.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. And I'm moving right to World Series because the Phillies are capable of winning a World Series. I don't think the Flyers or the Sixers are anywhere near that. But I'm ready to start. I'm ready to start wearing my Phillies hat and rooting for the Phillies World Series because they can do it. They have the potential.
I don't disagree with you at all, Joe. It's definitely been a disappointing offseason for me. I wish Dave Dombrowski attacked a little bit differently. Now, here's my approach heading into the Philly season. I'm going to give them a chance, all right? I'm not just going to rule them out right away because you are correct, and Dave does say some things that make sense about the core of this team and Bryce and, a lot of these guys. I wish they moved on from Bohm, and I don't trust Trey defensively at shortstop, and if I start nitpicking it, I can really actually talk myself into hating it more than I actually do. But at the same time, I am going to give them a chance to win me over in the beginning before I just start shredding them to pieces. But I got to be honest, there was a sour taste in my mouth based off of Dave's offseason. Do you not feel that way, or do you feel way more optimistic?
No, it was lacking. I will give you that. And I actually thought if he's really thinking about Taijuan Walker, I honestly thought we'd release Taijuan Walker. He just that's not happening.
It might, Joey. He might be. I bet you the fifth game of the year, right? The first time through the rotation, here comes Taijuan taking the bump. How do you feel about that?
Not great.
Yeah.
And I disagree with you about Bohm. I'm glad they kept Bohm.
Okay.
I think you can't. It's hard to replace a guy who hit that many doubles.
Agreed.
I understand. There's some personality issues. He needs to grow up a little bit, or at least control his emotions a little bit. But he's become a much better third baseman, and he led the team in doubles. And I'm not sure I'm right, but he was right up there with in RBIs
yes,
as well.
he was up there, Joe, and that's a good point. Thank you for your call. So I actually am torn with the Bohm thing. I wanted a facelift. I wanted something different. I wanted to have a new personality as a team entering this year because they're obviously running it back, and I have fear about running it back. But I'm not going to dismiss how much better Bohm got at third defensively because he went from incompetent to what I thought was a very reasonable third baseman. Not elite, okay, but a reasonable third baseman. And he was protecting Bryce Harper all year long. So he was your cleanup hitter, whether he's a traditional cleanup hitter or not, whether that suits him best or not. He did protect Bryce Harper as a right-handed stick and had a lot of doubles and a lot of runs batted in. So it wouldn't be a, yo, Bohm, you stink type of thing. It would be more along the lines of, your personality does kind of bother me, and I think there's value in what he provides if you were to trade him. That's where the appeal is. You can't get rid of crap and expect to get something reasonable back in return. It would be sort of you got to give a little to get a little, and maybe we can find a way to create this new energy with the baseball team heading into the year. So it wouldn't be I think you're a garbage baseball player thing. It would be more along the lines of I'm trying to establish this new brand of baseball because we got to make some changes considering the last few years we keep running into a wall. All right. So once again, I want to take a look at this with the angle of the Super Bowl and the championship and Super Bowl 59. Does it make you any less willing to demand a World Series? Any less willing to attack as a fan and to apply pressure to these organizations? Let's go to Scott in Westchester. What's going on, Scott? Scott.
Hi, Brode. I don't speak there.
Oh, it's all good. How are you? What's up, Scott? I'm doing well.
Listen, I agree 100%. You need to demand these things out of all of your sports teams all the time. It's really how I feel about it.
Yeah, 100%. You think Boston, during their times of watching the Bruins, the Celtics,
right.
The Pats are going, hey, we're good, guys. You know?
Right. No, you would hope that, success breeds success or whatever. But I'm in, a dangerous territory in regards to my looking at the Phillies. Now that parade's over, we don't really have much to do on Sundays. You can kind of start looking ahead. And I'm concerned that the Phillies are, straying into Philadelphia 76er land. I got to be honest with you. When I hear Dombrowski talk about Taijuan Walker, and I know you want to try to sell him, you know what I mean? I know you want to try to move him still and all this kind of stuff. You sound like Daryl Morey just giving us the same spiel over and over again. You know what I'm saying? What you just said, too, just them running it back, and I don't need any kind of, crazy splashy moves, but there was, no moves. You know what I mean? And that concerns me on a big-time level because we've seen it's been a heck of a run with this squad or whatever. But, again, if you look at an Eagles perspective, and we talk about, and this will be a discussion coming up in the weeks ahead, would a Howie-type GM accept that the Trey Turner doesn't want to move to the outfield? These are decisions and conversations that you should have. You know what I mean? And I don't see that coming from the top in the Phillies' direction. I also kind of look at it in regards of what you're posing of yeah, we should demand all these things from our team, but there's a realistic factor of the Sixers aren't going to pull this off anytime soon. The Flyers have moved up into that third position of who might get there quicker kind of thing, just because I feel you're 2 years away maybe or a year away kind of building still and all that kind of good stuff. The Phillies, it's your best shot, but I just have an icky feeling about it kind of going into the season. I don't want to be like Negative Nancy, maybe just because I'm riding such a great high off the Super Bowl. But does that make sense at all?
Yeah, 100%. And I actually feel the same way. I feel I need to keep this high energy going. And just for myself, I'm saying, I think we're on such a high. The last thing I want to do is go from that high and then just hate my baseball team game one. So,
Exactly.
I do think the Eagles' success is giving me a little bit more, or giving the Phillies a bit more wiggle room with my emotions, which maybe that's wrong and maybe that's a flaw on my end, and maybe it kind of is hypocritical considering the conversation we're having today. But yeah, I'm willing to give them a shot. What bothers me, Scott, and thank you so much, I greatly appreciate it. You're talking about moving Trey Turner and not willing to move, and he's being stubborn about his position. Now I got to hear JT Realmuto is going to go play left field.
Hell.
What are we doing? What are we doing? JT, contract extensions, less time behind the plate, throwing him out there into the outfield. Does that mean more stubs? Oh, what did I do to myself by opening up this conversation? This is going to be a devastating day, isn't it? That wasn't the plan. The objective was to show fire, okay? And to show that I'm hungry for a billion more championships. But actually, what this is going to turn into, it's going to show us how far away the Sixers and Phillies are. Ooh, maybe I should have rethought this. Let's go to Shay in the Northeast. Hello, Shay.
Hey, bro, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
So I'm good. So, of course, yes, I want the Eagles to try. I want them to go back again. No, we're not stopping. We're not getting comfortable. I'm interested in going back again. But I was calling. I didn't get a chance to talk to you, if this is okay, when they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, of course.
I missed you.
No, so you're not allowed to talk about the greatest day of our lives, Shay. Of course.
Did you notice, I came across something last night. Did you notice how long it took for the confetti to fall?
No, honestly, I did not.
So it took a while compared to when the Chiefs won. It was like instantly, like coming down. So I'm watching the post game for the Chiefs, and even they were so confident and cocky that the guys that are in control of releasing the confetti, they were saying had the Chiefs confetti.
No.
Yes, I couldn't believe. So I watched the post game, and I wonder why it took so long for it to come out, that they had to redo it. They were cocky and arrogant. The fans down to the entire show did not think the Eagles were going to win. And what I'm upset about, because they were the luckiest, in my opinion. The Chiefs was very lucky to even make it to the Super Bowl. I think they should have lost a lot of more games than they won.
Mm-hmm.
And it's insulting because you guys, I know, like, you know, you're not from here. You're not going to really watch our team like that. But when you're preparing to play us, even the fans, look at and study us, watch us, because I saw this coming. I didn't see the blowout, but I knew that the Eagles was going to win. And the fact that they underestimated to the point that they didn't even put the confetti in the thing for us.
Yeah, that's a slap in the face for sure. And you know what? Knowing this team, though, and if Jalen Hurts is consuming this or whatever, you know what it's going to say next year? It's going to say, I heard something about that confetti. I'm not happy about it. I'm about to win another title. You know, he's going to use that to piss him off. So it might end up benefiting us, Shay.
Craziness.
I know.
Go Birds.
Go Birds, Shay. Thank you so much for checking it. All right, Kyle, I want to get your thoughts. Kyle Forsini producing today's program, at least the start. There'll be a switch at some point. But I know you're a big Phillies guy. I don't want to make this specifically about where the Phillies currently stand, although I think it naturally will progress to that. How do you feel about just attacking as a fan to make sure we keep the pressure going? Or are you a bit satisfied with the title? And if people feel that way, I don't want you to think that you're not allowed to chime in, but it's just not my mentality. Kyle, what's your mentality?
No, I think you have to continue to attack as a fan. Just because the Eagles win doesn't mean you don't want to keep chasing that high. It's like you want more of that. And you want to do it with another team in the city. Of course, you would love it if the Eagles go back-to-back. That goes without saying. But sure, you would love to have a Phillies parade down Broad Street or a Sixers parade or a Flyers parade. Doesn't matter what team it is. You want to win championships. The ultimate goal every season, Brodes. You want to have that feeling you just had a week ago. You want that every single year and every single season for every team. So, of course, we should absolutely want to keep going. There is no complacency here. I think a lot of people will feel the same way of you and I, of wanting that too. You want to continue to chase that high. We're not a complacent city. We're not fans that are just going to get off your back because you won a Super Bowl last year or you won a World Series. We want it again. We demand excellence, and I think that will continue for all the sports teams.
Now, let me follow up with that because I'm curious. I remember specifically having a very similar show after the Eagles won the Super Bowl in 2017. But because we've never had that experience before, and because we were all so desperate to finally have one, and we finally got, and you know, those emotions, that first one, it's so hard to explain. Not that this one didn't taste just as good, because I think it tasted just as good. It's just different. It's like having two kids. You love both of them. They're just different people. These are different Super Bowls, but the first one, the way it happened, you beat Tom Brady, he put up 1 billion yards, historic day, Brandon Graham, strip sack, compared to just an ass beating that we saw a couple days ago, or about a week ago. Do you think back in 2017, people were more willing to take a step back and appreciate what that was because it was our first, compared to this most recent one where we had a different mindset as a city?
Maybe slightly. And 2017, you win it with a backup quarterback. You're getting Wentz back, so you have the excitement, but you don't know exactly how the next season's going to play out. I hate threatening to say the D word here, but we're all thinking it like dynasty potential type of stuff. That's what you smell with this team, with this roster, the quarterback, the coach, Howie Roseman. Like, we've come a long way since 2017 in terms of roster building and where this Eagles team is. So I think even after this Super Bowl, yeah, I think you are more driven to go win a second or a third one than you were after 2017. It was still a little bit unknown what the team was in 2017. We know what they are now.
Yeah.
2 Super Bowls in 3 years. You don't do that by accident.
Right. Yep. And it does change, though, when you approach it with the Eagles alone and just from an Eagles perspective, and then you open up the door to the Phillies or the Sixers, because with the Eagles, you're right. We know where they are. They're young. They're going to continue to grow. They're going to continue to have dominance. They got a great quarterback, a great head coach. They're obviously going to have a lot of people interested in the offensive coordinator job. So there's a lot here to keep working with from an Eagles perspective. Of course, we're going to have the desire and the will to try and get 2 in a row with a Super Bowl. But how does this impact your viewing with the Phillies? If the Phillies end up having a slow start, if the Phillies end up being 10 games under 500 halfway through the year, do people start turning on the Phils and saying, well, we won the Super Bowl, so it doesn't matter, right? Like the Sixers at this point, I don't know how many people were really tuning in anyway, but now is the second half of the season straight up, who cares, throw it in the trash, we won a Super Bowl, so I'm not going to waste my time anyway? Or is there still a desire to get this thing back on track, to force Joel Embiid to get that stupid surgery instead of wasting time and wasting all these games of him playing, even though he only plays 1 out of every 10 anyway, and Paul George isn't taking care of his body? Either you go get that pinky fixed or you figure it out and actually make some damn shots and score more than 2 points. Shouldn't we be willing to get insane about those details with the Sixers to get this back on track the best way possible? Or are we going to sit back and just admire the Super Bowl that we won a week ago? I don't know. I'm trying to figure this out while talking to the great people. Let's go to Rick in Wilmington. Yo, Rick.
What's up, my man?
What's up, Rick?
So, I'm not giving the Phillies the free pass.
Okay.
But I got to tell you, they ran into a buzzsaw, which were the New York Mets. So, the team that usually wins is the team that's usually hot. So I'm not totally disappointed with the Phillies' effort, but because like I said, I think the hot team's going to win, and they were the hot team, but yeah, I think they got to do a couple little changes. I don't know what, and maybe some pitching, obviously hitting, but which is totally obvious. But
here's what pisses me off a little bit, Rick, because I agree with you. Their philosophy, hitting-wise, has sort of been their kryptonite in the last couple of years, right? So I assumed that. And listen, I don't know exactly every piece of information that goes behind the scenes between Kevin Long and all the hitters, but if your offense and your philosophy is an issue and why you lose in the playoffs consistently, to run it back with the same hitting coach seems to be a smack in the face for me.
Yes, agreed. But that's the point I want to make about the Phils. But you know what? I'm going to shut my big mouth when it comes to the Eagles, and not because I was one of those guys that was probably blasting the team here and there throughout the early part of the season. I remember guys calling in when we got Saquon, guys calling in and being negative about that. Wow. Okay. So Eagles get the free pass. I'm shutting my mouth for a whole year, but I'll be calling you guys about the Phils all season long. So
okay,
that's all I got, my friend.
Thank you, Rick. I appreciate it. So that's the approach from Rick. The Eagles get the feet up, kick back, relax, while the Phillies get the pressure. Here's what I'll say about the Eagles. It's not a free pass, but, and I'm just hypothetically throwing this out there, if they're the number 2 seed in the NFC next year, they go on the road and play in the NFC Championship game and lose by 3 points in an epic game similar to the Super Bowl two years ago, where 38-35, back and forth, your team plays well offensively, it's a dogfight, you come up just shy after winning a Super Bowl, it'll hurt, okay? I'll be devastated. There'd be a lot of pain, but from a proud fan standpoint, I could sit back and acknowledge you're coming off of a Super Bowl season. You're still putting together this sustained success. I'm not going to crush them to this crazy level. There's pride I can take in that effort, right? If they go and have a 3-win season next year, there's no feet up, relaxing, I'm good. You won a Super Bowl a year ago. That I can't have. So it depends on how this puppy plays out. I need to see a real competitive team, strong decisions, have a lot of faith in this head coach who continues to push things forward, still have a good grasp on the locker room, Jalen continuing to take strides. There's a way where it doesn't end up in a championship, but we continue this great sustained success that this organization has done. That I can accept. I can't accept a BS season where they just flop and fail and significantly underperform and they win 3 or 4 games and it goes Washington, Cowboys, you, and then the Giants in the NFC East standings. So that's where I would differ for sure. Let's go to Darian in Roxborough. What's up, Darian?
You're going to think I'm crazy, and I'm not trying to go viral, but there's a team in this town that is being overlooked, and it's not the Phillies.
The
and
Fly
I'll tell
Guys.
You why.
The Flyers.
The Sixers not only beat Cleveland, the best team in the NBA. They beat Boston on Christmas Day.
Mm-hmm.
They were ahead of Boston a second time by 26 points.
Mm-hmm.
26. And I'm sick of hearing about Embiid being injured and Paul. Yeah, we had those problems, but this team has so much potential.
Wow.
It's not even funny.
Wow.
And I'm
Listen.
telling everybody in the Delaware Valley, get ready for a parade in June.
Wow. This show has started off insane, Darian. Now, listen, I'm not going to rain on your parade. What makes you feel so confident about this group?
Because they've just shown in so many, just the last game where they fought back as hard as they did, combined with the other games I mentioned. I don't know what it is. It's just they just have what it takes.
Let me ask you a follow-up. Do you believe that in the playoffs, Joel Embiid can stay upright enough with his knee to give us multiple 7-game series?
That's to be determined, but it's possible.
I hope you're right. There's nothing I want more, Darian, than what you're laying out. And it's funny you say this. Now, I do not believe in it the way you do, but I did always say the Sixers are going to do it in a year where we hate them, where we despise them for 95% of the year. Then something crazy happens and they turn it around with 5 games to go and they go on this magical run and they're going to pull it out of their rear end when nobody can even enjoy it because that's just what Sixers basketball is. But I'd be lying if I said I thought that's even close to occurring this season. I don't think they got the firepower. I don't think they have the health. I don't think they have the cohesiveness, the time of being on the floor together. And, all these teams that you mentioned, one, I don't know if Cleveland's going to be able to make it with the size of their backcourt, but we'll find out. And if they do, I'll feel better about Maxey and McCain moving forward. But I don't know if these Celtics regular season games mean much because that Celtics squad's going to kick it into another gear once the postseason starts, don't you think?
Yeah, but the Sixers were in another gear against them in one of their games. I mean, I know it's not the postseason, but it's still to beat them once and to be ahead by 26. And I think they were missing Embiid or George in that game.
Listen, Darren, I love you. I appreciate the call. I just can't get there with the Sixers. I just can't get there with the Sixers. I want you to be right. Could you imagine after winning a Super Bowl and Daryl Morey says, if you squint, and then we go all over the city with T-shirts on that says hashtag if you squint? If you squint, you can maybe see a championship caliber team. All right, if you squint. That'll be our hashtag, and that'll be what drives us throughout the entire parade. If you squint. I don't see it. But it seems he's willing to apply the pressure to the Sixers because that tells me if that's where his bar is and if that's where his optimism is, then he has pressure on Daryl Morey to get this done. He's got pressure on Embiid. He's got pressure on Paul George. Because you can't feel that good about your basketball team, and then if things go wrong, you pretend it's no big deal. If you think they could do it, if you think they could beat Boston, if you think they could compete with Cleveland, that means when it rolls around to the NBA playoffs, you have to deliver. So that tells me, to stay on topic here, you're going to think that it matters to keep pursuing titles and not take your foot off the gas. All right. 215-592-9494. Does Super Bowl 59 make you less willing to demand a World Series or an NBA title from any of these teams? Coming up next, my underrated favorite visual of Super Bowl 59. I'll tell you what that is. It's Brodes, it's you, it's 94 WIP. That's the phone number. Talking about the Super Bowl and how you, as a fan, attack championships moving forward. Do you give the Eagles more time, more wiggle room now that they got another one under their belt? Does this change your view on the Phillies? Do you care if the Sixers do anything different now? Because, hey, at least I got that taste of the Lombardi. Or do you get more aggravated that Daryl Morey is screwing us, that Paul George is hurting us, that Joel Embiid isn't getting surgery, or whatever happened with Lisa Salters? There's so much Sixers crap that we have totally blew under the radar, rightfully so, because the Eagles won the Super Bowl. But if you actually think about it, it is nuts. The president of basketball operations said, if you squint, they're a title team. That's a fireable offense. I'd fire him if I heard that and I was the owner of the team. No, you can't say that. It's disgusting. But do you care? Or do you have the beautiful taste of a Lombardi trophy in your mouth that it doesn't matter? Eagles won the Super Bowl. It doesn't matter. I can't do that. I'm actually angrier the more and more I sit here now because I've been brainwashed. I haven't been thinking about Philly spring training a lick yet. I'll get there, but it hasn't hit me yet. I haven't watched the Sixers with a purpose in a while. Background noise, sure. But the Eagles were on a run. Now that I'm actually digesting where both of those franchises are, I'm pissed. I'm pissed. I want to see the Sixers compete in the damn Eastern Conference Finals and get to a damn NBA Finals. I need it. I want to see the Phillies get a World Series trophy, especially now knowing this is the time to do it. This is the prime of this core. And quite frankly, it may be your last go at it with this group. Go get it done. Yet Dave sat on his hands all offseason. So this actually ignites a fire that I want more. I'm not satisfied. What say you? 215-592-9494. Let's go to James in Pottstown. What's up, James?
Give me 1 sec. Let me take you off speakers.
No problem.
Hey, what's up, Brodes?
What's up, James?
Not much. Just calling in to say Birds earned a lot of leash in my book.
Okay.
The Sixers, like you said, dumpster fire organization. We're just sweeping all the bad news under the rug at this point. But the Phillies, they're unique in the sense that they get this rap of having a great roster. Dombrowski being a good GM, holding him in a similar light to Howie. And then to watch him just back out because, the CBA in 26 and we want to reset for that. It's like you said, the whole core is going to age out. So long story short, Eagles earned a long leash. I expect a lot more success in the immediate future, but if I don't get it, I'm not going to be calling for any heads.
Do you believe that, though?
Very frustrating.
James, do you believe that? Because, hear me out. I know it's easy to say now, but if something was to go wrong and they have a bad year next year and they win 4 games, do you really think that you'd say, yeah, I'll be okay?
If they win 4 games, I'll pay you $100.
Yeah, I don't need your $100, but I agree. I don't see it happening, but I think it's funny because I do the same thing sometimes. I go, I won't worry about it, blah, 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 blah. And then I'm living in it, and I'm going, get this guy out of here. You know how it goes.
Well, anyway, with baseball, with the nature of the sport, I do think the Phillies could maybe make a lucky run.
Agreed. They do have talent. They just can never put it together at the right time.
Yeah. And in basketball, it doesn't work like that. The Sixers are just not going to win.
And that's disappointing, though, because not just that they're bad or whatever, but for us, right? Us, the ones that care so much about them, they are in such a bad spot that we're almost not caring anymore. And I get it.
I haven't cared in 6 months at all.
I know, but are we doing ourselves a disservice with that approach?
I like to watch Maxey.
Me too. And
That's what I get out of it. I just like to watch him attack the rim.
Yeah, no, thanks, James. It sucks. It sucks that that's where we're at. It hurts me that that's where we're at. Because I almost feel it's our duty and our obligation to not let that happen. So then Joshua Harris doesn't get a free pass. Daryl Morey doesn't get a free pass. Joel Embiid doesn't get a free pass. Paul George, all these guys, they don't get free passes. If we don't care because all they do is fail, then why would there be any sort of motivation? Why would there be any sort of actual addressing going on? Why would they need to address anything? Well, they don't care. We got some time to wiggle through this nonsense, and we'll eventually figure it out. Whereas if we continue to bark, to get angry, to be intense about it, maybe decisions get made. I don't want to say that we're the reason why Howie Roseman changed philosophy with his drafting, but I'll tell you what. He heard us when Jalen Reagor was drafted and that dude couldn't play a lick. He heard us when J.J. Arcega-Whiteside walked in with that umbrella and had the corniest Go Birds I've ever heard in my life walking into the training camp facility for the first time that was blasted on social media. Then his mother is holding the umbrella over his head because it was too sunny in a training camp practice. That's embarrassing. And I do really feel that our loud outpour and our frustration played a role. We can't be drafting Jalen Reagor anymore. We can't be drafting J.J. Arcega-Whiteside anymore. You're going to lose. Here's Jalen Carter. Here's Devontae Smith. Here's Nolan Smith. Here's all these elite guys. Here's Landon Dickerson, Alabama, Georgia, the big SEC schools. Let's go to work. If we follow suit with a similar attack, does that change how the Sixers operate? Does that change their business? Maybe not. I'm not sure. I'm sort of talking through this with you all. But I want to keep our foot on the gas as a fan base so we can potentially change their overall philosophy. We can change their attitude towards things. Because I don't want to give anybody a free pass. I don't even want to give the Eagles a free pass. Once again, as long as they go NFC Championship game, give us a fight, keep us in the sustained success category, then fine, I understand. But the Phillies, I need a World Series this year. Need it. I demand it. I demand a World Series next year. Yo, Sixers, I demand you to get your head out of your ass and get Joel Embiid the surgery he needs. Stop letting that guy make the decisions. Every single time you give him the power to do it, we end up screwing ourselves, and the right decision isn't made. Be a grown-up, put your big boy pants on, talk to Embiid about what's right, and get this franchise back in the right position. That's what you need to do. And that's the only way I know how to sort of look at it from a fan view.